Welcome to the Elk Season Podcast, Season 3, Episode 21?
20, just 20.
Episode 20.
I know. We've missed a lot more weeks this year than previous seasons, so it's hard to keep track. But
yeah, we got a bunch of stuff for you this week, though.
Yeah, we've got some content. So.
But we are 35 days away from Elk Season.
It's that close, man.
And you can start to feel it.
Yeah.
We are the Chambers Brothers. My name is Harold.
I'm David.
And today on the Elk Season Podcast.
Hey, guess what? We're talking about bears and their true motivations. A monster bull. Got to start bringing in the elk content.
Oh, man.
Gear talk. And an interesting one you brought to the table. I think it's gear, but it's relatable. But I'm going to call this one Piranha Chops.
Yeah.
So we'll elaborate on that.
Yeah.
And Rocky Mountain Elk, Colorado. More on that later. All that and probably some more on this podcast today.
On the Elk Season Podcast.
I meant to say the Elk Season Podcast. Hey.
All right.
I'm nothing if I'm not awkward.
You're right. And we can't learn if we don't fail.
Nailed it.
So, so where are we starting?
Wherever you'd like to. You actually have the bulk of the stories you brought to the table today.
Man, bears are on my mind
All right,
today.
let's go there.
And hunger is on my mind today. Well, we're gonna get to this. We're gonna get to hunger first, or hunger second.
Yes.
But right now we want to talk about this. There's a grizzly bear. We found a video. A grizzly bear, sow and a boar fighting over cubs.
Yeah.
Right.
And the sow is fending off the boar because, well, the potential, I wouldn't want to anthropomorphize the bear as having a fear of infanticide, but to prevent infanticide.
Indeed.
So
to protect her young.
Yeah. And this is indicative of almost all species in the animal kingdom.
Yeah.
To fight and protect their young, particularly the mothers of things. I talk a lot about, when I introduce students in my class to the concept of infanticide,
Yeah.
I introduce it to them by way of the Serengeti and lions and how it works with a female.
Oh.
So what's interesting?
Tell me how that works. I don't know.
Well, it's very similar to the bear in one way. But the first way I go is I say, okay, a mother lion has a litter of cubs.
Okay.
She's got to provide for those cubs.
Yes.
If she cannot get food to sustain feeding those cubs, she risks dying along with her cubs. So it's better for her to kill her cubs to sustain herself because she can give birth to another litter. And so she will. Okay. If it comes to that, if push comes to shove, she'll kill the cubs to go get more. And mind you, I'm not a biologist, but I've read about this and learned about it. So that's one way infanticide can happen with lions.
Right.
It's horrifying. And so I give this as an analogy for human behavior, not that it's an excuse for humans doing the same thing.
But humans have done it for hundreds of thousands of years. Yes. I mean, before even through the agricultural revolution.
Another way that it happens is the lioness has her litter of cubs.
Yeah.
But a new male lion comes into the picture. And that male lion is not the father of those cubs. So he will kill the cubs so he can sire new cubs.
Right. And that's what this grizzly bear was doing.
Fending off a sow. Or the sow was fending off a boar.
There's a very short window. There's a very short mating window in the summertime for grizzly bears. Mm-hmm. And if he can kill those cubs, he can send her into a new reproductive cycle. He might not even end up, if he did kill the cubs, he might not even end up getting to mate with her.
Right.
But just to have one more in the arena is worth that battle.
Yeah. And coincidentally, another bear story related to that you actually did show me a video was the buffalo.
Yes.
Trying to fight off that grizzly that was going after their calves. So another example of animal species really working to fight and protect their young. So
and the grizzlies are ruled by their bellies.
Yes.
Typically. So then this is what we're doing.
That's an interesting segue. I accidentally fell into that segue. Nailed it.
They mostly, they're the basic biological drive of all living things is to reproduce.
Yes.
Right? And that's what the grizzly bear was doing, killing the cubs, trying to get another chance to reproduce. That's a very important biological drive. But the second biological drive is to stay alive.
Yeah.
Right? And to eat.
Sustenance.
And it's a very close second.
Yes.
Right? It's a very big deal.
I think the food comes first and the mating comes second, because if you're not surviving, you can't. But
if
it's not
you're
really
not
a debate
healthy,
that I meant to get
yeah,
in. But
yeah, you have to eat all year round.
yeah, but
Yeah, I think humans are the only mammals that have sex year round, that strive for reproduction. Although reproduction is not the sole intent for humans, according to a recent book I read. But I don't want to get into that.
Right.
Because I want to talk.
We're talking about bears' true motivation.
I want to talk about bears and that they're hungry.
Yeah.
Right, and they're just ruled by their bellies, and that's it. And you should not get between them and their food.
No, never.
And so there's a lot of situations when we see video of people fishing for big fat salmon on this beautiful river, probably in
Brooks
Alaska.
River? Is that what it was? The Brook River? Anyway.
There's 1,000 rivers like
Oh,
it.
yeah.
And millions of salmon and thousands of bears. And when you're out there fishing and you're like, why aren't those bears attacking those men? Why aren't those men running for their lives? Those are grizzly bears.
Yeah.
Right? Why? Why is it dangerous to be around those bears other times of the year? Because if there's no fish in the river, if there's no food, they're there to eat. Right? As I was watching a lot of YouTubes on hunting spring bear, right? They were saying, watch the green wave. Black bears are ruled by their bellies, and they love the fresh grasses. So if you find a field you can glass that's going to have fresh grass on it, you stay there, because there will be a bear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking of the hillsides that we look at when
I know.
elk hunting, and I'll think differently.
I know.
Because coincidentally, pictures of bears you have were in a little before the fire came through.
Yeah.
We had a wallow with
Yeah.
a grassy area, and two bears came running through.
Yeah.
So okay.
Yeah, and
That tracks.
And on in the book, The Night of the Grizzly. I don't know if I've talked about this.
No, we haven't talked about
The
that.
Night of the Grizzly. So I had a great conversation with a friend about Night of the Grizzly. He read Night of the Grizzly, and I read The Grizzly in the Driveway.
Yes.
And The Grizzly in the Driveway referenced the book, The Night of the Grizzly, because Night of the Grizzly was a much older book.
Okay.
And I know I've talked to you about this before. Once I start talking about it, you'll be like,
Probably.
oh, yeah. Night of the Grizzly was on the same night in Montana, 2 young women were killed by grizzly bears.
Oh yeah. We
cleaning
talked
up
about
a
this in
camp.
the last podcast.
Probably.
It was the last podcast.
Probably. Right?
So, fact check me.
Those bears were there for thousands of calories in garbage
Yeah.
and camping extras, right? And when they weren't there, I saw, they get grumpy.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yes.
You can get grumpy in the drive-through line.
Yeah.
I saw a TikTok today of people having a fight. One lady's holding a baby, a tiny baby too, and they're in a crumble cookie.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Wow.
Right?
Nice job.
But until you get that fix, man, all you think about is getting that fix.
Yeah. Hangry.
And that's where hangry comes from. So if it's hard to argue on a full belly, then the opposite is true. And it's easy to pick a fight on an empty one.
Yes. So back to your fishing men or people fishing on the banks next to grizzly bears is because there's a food source that's plentiful, so nobody's having to fight over it.
100%. These rainforests and these beaches have a lot of dead things that wash up. Bears for the most part are scavengers.
Yeah.
They really are. And when there's whales, when you hunt grizzly in Alaska, you go out there in a jet boat and you look in every single fjord and river and bay, everything, and look for a whale carcass and try to find a series of bears just feeding on them.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. Those whales have fat layers 10, 15 inches thick. A bear can get really fat eating on whale carcasses.
So when it comes to encounters with bears, though, if you don't mind me segueing to good behaviors around bears is what.
Okay, hold on.
Am I too fast?
Yeah. You're hold on, because of what I want to do, and that is the ecosystem of Alaska. And that's different. And the interior is different too. The interior of Alaska, they still have the rivers and they still have fish and there's a lot of dead things, but there's a lot of berries. The berries in Alaska, the blueberries up there are a very big deal. In Norway and Sweden, when we talked about the grizzly bears in Norway and Sweden, we talked about how the bear encounters in Norway and Sweden are measured in injuries per decade, whereas out west they're measured in deaths per year. Right? That's a wild difference.
Yeah.
So, with what the ecosystem of Norway and Sweden, and from the books I've read, and I don't know a whole lot about Norway and Sweden, nor do I know that much about Alaska. But what I've read about the West is that it is arid. Because when you had the Native American tribes out east, they all had a much, much smaller area because that was all the area they needed to survive.
Yeah.
Right? Out west, they had huge parcels. And these parcels would overlap depending on different seasons because food out here is just harder to come by. Food out west is harder to come by. That is my argument for why grizzly bears in the west are grumpier than they are in Norway and Sweden and in Alaska. You're going to find more attacks that happen in the Intermountain Northwest than you will in Alaska.
And I just thought of an extra story to tie into that.
Yeah.
And I saw it last week, but I can't remember where I was. I think it was on the news, so I didn't have a chance to clip it. But a man in Montana shot a grizzly while picking huckleberry.
Yes. Yeah.
So
it is huckleberry season. Huckleberries are...
It's really coming down outside.
Yeah,
here,
it
folks.
is. It is really hammering.
We've had a couple torrential storms here. It was flooded so bad in town today. Vesta said on the way home from work.
Yeah.
And we were in here. So sorry for the sidebar here.
Yeah, but it's raining.
My boys and I sat down and they're like, Dad, could we play Fortnite? So we did a quad. All four of us are playing together.
Fun.
So I've got a screenshot of our avatars, and it's the first time I think we've played together in a while. So I'm like, I'm just trying to be a cool dad.
Yeah.
And as soon as we sit down, something like this happens. Like all of us are like trying to play, but we're trying to look out the windows, and we're all in different bedrooms, and it was just really kind of like mayhem. And we came in like I think 20th or something, but which is like last.
Well, like I said when I got here, it was more than 100 degrees for a week straight, and today ice fell out of the sky.
Yeah,
and so it's a nice change of pace.
Yeah, it is.
It really
nice.
is. Although I'm staying inside, it's a nice change of pace.
Sorry for that side note. That we were talking about the grizzly bear and the huckleberries, and
resource acquisition. So why warrior cultures exist in the first place? Native American tribes out west would go out hunting for food when they couldn't find food, and they could find other camps. And what's better, to starve to death or to raid that camp? And warrior culture is born through that. They're always out hunting. They're always out looking for honey, different trees that may have fruit on it, or animals to kill. But if they do come across, other bands of Native Americans, they can just take them. And they can just take all their resources. And that was very common practice because resources were so light out west, especially in the arid west. I mean, west of the Mississippi, it's a different place. The Rocky Mountains shouldn't exist where they exist because they're so far inland, right? The Sierra Nevadas are about as far from the coast as you really get a good mountain range like that. Now, the Himalayas are a little bit different because anyways. You'll have to talk to Wilsey about that. He probably knows better. But the Rocky Mountains are just in an interesting place deep within the center of the continent, right? Right off the center of the continent's got to be North Dakota, right? That's not far from the mountains. So having that resource acquisition or resource availability for those animals means a lot. Means every little scrap is more precious, and every scrap they get is important, and they will take it from you. I found another TikTok today, and I forgot. I thought I'd saved it, but of a guy outside of his car on the side of the road throwing food to a grizzly bear.
What?
Now, it was the perfect example for this talk. That's why I wish I would have saved the TikTok. But he's got a bag of food. Right?
Yeah.
And he taking pieces out to give to the grizzly bear. The grizzly bear doesn't want to eat slow. And he totally lunges at this guy and knocks him over.
Oof.
And he's lucky to be alive. And his buddy somebody was filming from inside the car. And this guy's like, "Oh, look, I'm feeding the bear. Don't feed the bears."
Yeah.
And it's an 800-pound grizzly.
Yeah.
If it weighs a pound, it was a big It was a big grizzly.
I wonder if it's related to my story
Okay.
when we get to it. Because
that's what I wanted to say about bear and hunger. And food is a very, very basic biological drive within all mammals, and a homeostasis, being able to stay cool and stay warm, for the elk as well, are important to understand those processes when hunting. So,
but good behaviors around bears. So to take it from bad behaviors, as you just
terrible behavior, and we've had unfortunately too many bad examples
and
the Elk Season Podcast.
And I like to champion when that's done right. And
exactly.
I love the videos you showed me today.
Me too.
And
it's a big relief.
One of the videos you showed was of a gentleman. There was somebody filming some bears on a trail somewhere, and there's a gentleman on the trail, and the bears started moving towards this other gentleman. But what he did is he put his hands above his head, and I couldn't tell if he was making noise. I hope he was, but he got big, and that's one of the tactics you use. And the bears kind of infringed on him, but they eventually just ran off. Like, it was too intimidating to them. So getting big, making noise, especially if you're near other people, group
and he didn't turn his back on him.
And he didn't turn his back.
He faced them. As they walked past him, he faced them. It's so refreshing. I have faith in humanity.
Yes.
Seeing some people like that do the right thing. And he looked like he was not ready at all for a bear.
Right.
He's like, oh my, he doesn't have pepper spray. He doesn't have a gun. He's just like, what do I do? You see him think through this, and he goes, oh, I guess I'll get big. And he did.
And if we can keep up these kinds of behaviors and get more people to do it, that's how it should happen.
Yeah.
It shouldn't get worse than that. I mean, with very few exceptions, because sometimes you just never know what side of the forest the bear wakes up on. Yeah. But but then the other one you showed me was a guy getting out of his tent. I'd seen a headline, but I was too lazy to click the video, so I'm glad you found it. Guy getting out of his tent and seeing a black bear coming up on his stuff.
Yeah.
And he gets up, and the bear runs off, but he due diligence. He follows the bear, makes noise. He could make more noise, but in the heat of the moment, you don't always think. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, because he actually did something remarkable. He sprayed pepper spray to say, "Look, this is not your place."
Right.
And that was a good move.
Yeah, he got out of the tent and the bear ran. He investigated a little bit further. The bear is still curious. So the bear kind of came at him, and that's when he sprayed him with the pepper spray. But the important thing is, this bear understands, stay away from tents.
Yeah.
It needs to understand that. If you watch Alone, there's a series on Netflix called Alone. They picked
watched it.
10 people. Have you seen all the seasons?
Oh, sorry. I'm thinking of something else.
Okay. So they take these people and they put them out alone, all by themselves. Yeah. And in every episode, there's always somebody, or more than one person, that has a bear come in a little too close. But after a first couple of initial interactions, the bears stay away. Yeah. And the people that treat the bear correctly are the ones that chase the bear.
Yeah.
Not the other way around. They go after the bears. Like, hey, the bear's like, there's places I won't get harassed. I'll go there. Yeah. And they very much will.
So here's what I'm about to talk to you. My last story on the bears is relates to all of this in a way. But I'm gonna give you the setup, but then I'm gonna pull it into why this behavior is important. So there was a guide on the Yellowstone River in Montana. She's got her crew, her people that she's guiding.
Right.
And they come across a headless, pawless grizzly bear, huge bear.
Wow.
In the river.
Without a head and without all four paws.
Without paws. Yep.
Wow.
Now, what's going on here? Because you go, well, that's a bit bizarre. Yeah. So they take pictures. They call Fish, Wildlife and Parks. Fish, Wildlife and Parks says, yeah, it was us.
Oh, okay.
So we were unable to retrieve the bear, but the bear eventually floated downriver based on where it was. And so when we were able to get to the bear, but we couldn't get it out of the water, because of people wanting to benefit off of a dead carcass, we need to take anything that could be of monetary value. So we take the head and we take the paws. So it's an unsettling sight to see. But that's not where the story ends, because Fish, Wildlife, and Parks said this: the reason why we had to kill this bear is because it was becoming too friendly with people and too many close encounters. People feeding bear on the side of the roadside.
It's going to kill the bear. It's just going to kill the bear.
And so they had to get rid of a bear that's becoming trained to go, hey, humans, food.
Yeah.
I'm hungry.
And guess what happens? You leave food out for a bear, and week after week after week, he comes by and it's 20 below and you're off to see some friends during Thanksgiving. And he goes, oh, well, I'll take the horse. Thanks.
Yeah. So,
it's, or go to the neighbors and take something.
You got to treat nature right. And right doesn't mean friendly.
I remember being told, that when birds migrate to stop putting food in the feeder. Right?
Because they'll stick around.
They'll
and they'll
stay
die.
and they'll die if they stay.
Yep.
So even little things like that, the way we condition animals it's a slippery slope.
Yeah. So do the right thing. Train yourself to have different reactions that are more safe for you and the people around you.
Yeah.
And for the bear eventually. Right. So just adopt, get big, get loud, pepper spray, and you'll be okay. I just made a rhyme on the nose. I've done that 3 times now. All right. The other ones weren't as on point, but that one was right on the money.
That was pretty good.
So we've got some other things. We can go gear, or we can talk about. We have a couple of elk stories here.
Yeah, let's get into the elk stories because that was pretty cool.
Yeah. So which one, the singer or the carrier?
Oh, the carrier for sure.
So monster bull,
man.
At least by the image. Now, cameras do a lot, right? So
velvet does a lot.
Cameras and velvet add at least 20 pounds.
The velvet, there's velvet on it, and it just makes it look.
It's massive,
gigantic. But I mean,
hiking through the woods.
Even if you took the velvet off, you're like, that's really, really big.
It's remarkable.
It's really big. So, yeah,
it was a big bull, and obviously you have that to throw up there. So.
Yeah, and I'm guessing that's early season in New Mexico or Arizona.
I would bet. Yeah,
because I don't think it's an old post. I see a lot of elk content. New.
Yeah, so maybe a last year thing. Because I don't think it would be this year.
No, I think it was this year.
Really? I don't know how the hunting works.
I went. I went up to. I went to hike a lake a couple weeks ago, and as I'm going through Timmerman Hill between Shoshone and Bellevue.
Okay.
Big bull elk in velvet.
Oh, nice.
Big, middle of the day, 100 degrees, crossing the highway.
Nice.
Yeah.
Dangerous.
Yeah. But he was a big bull. That was 2 weeks ago. So I don't know. Maybe
was
it is
he
an
going
old post.
East to west or west to east?
He was going west. He was going east to west. Across the highway there, yeah.
That's not what I want to hear.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway.
Get back over on the Cary side. Work your way up into the Pioneers. There's plenty more. There's plenty more.
We saw some already this year. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And in Colorado, we talk a lot about elk in Colorado. You talk about the numbers being huge.
Yep.
They're so big that even this lovely chap doing the John Denver song kind of looks like John Denver. Certainly has the timbre.
What did you call him? A
sing-alike or
a
something like that? Because he kind of sounded like him, and he kind of looked like him. I don't know if it's
is that a genre?
I think I kind of invented that today. But if it is
so he's a sing-alike.
I'm not trying to steal anything from anybody.
Okay.
It's a sing-alike. There's lots of people that do that, like the Michael Jacksons.
Yeah.
Or the
there's John
Presley's.
Denver. There's a John Denver sing-alike in Colorado somewhere, singing Rocky Mountain High.
And behind him, a herd of elk is coming down to graze on the lawn behind him.
Yeah.
And he's so good.
He was very good.
He's able to sing a line while he keeps playing, turn around, admire the elk, turn back, sing the next line, turn around.
And make comments in the slow spaces in the song about the elk.
And I quote, "It doesn't get much more Colorado than this."
It really doesn't.
And he keeps singing.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, he was good.
So a fun video.
That was fun to watch, yeah.
And then we have gear. That's our last stop. And I've got a big piece of gear to talk about.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you do. Very big.
But what? I don't know if we talk about that first, last.
No. Let's go ahead and talk about this.
So, yeah. You want to go hiking or target?
Ooh. Start with the target.
Target practice. This was actually pretty cool.
Yeah. And it's like, as soon as you see it, you're like, oh, that's intuitive. I could have thought of that.
but it's so cool that it kind of exists. So basically, it's an opportunity. You get a 3D target of an elk.
Yeah.
And you can take shots at it from various distances like you would any other target. But there's a little app that you can get with a QR code that you can use. That you walk up to the 3D target, and you can layer the internals to help you improve your ability to get the right shot.
See where the bones are, where the ribs are, where the muscles are, where the heart, liver, where everything's placed inside elk, and how exactly your arrow did against it.
Yes.
It's really cool.
And seeing where that shoulder blade existed made me go, oh my gosh, I'm pretty sure that some of the people who have taken shots in videos we've watched, the arrow has bounced off and it's a broadhead.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the shoulder. It would have been like a rib bone or something. Like it just hit in the right way.
Yeah.
It didn't go in because there was a shot by the Elk 101 guys.
Yeah.
In not this last year, but the year before, where it just
that's
bounced
right.
off. And I was
That's
like,
right.
that seemed like a legit hit.
Yeah.
But it just hit it just right. As long as that anatomy is correct on that video you showed me, I'm just like, man, it's just the unluck of that draw. Like that should have been a harvest.
Oh yeah.
I felt really bad for him in that video anyway, but then to see that it was probably even more or not what they thought it was like, it's insult to injury.
Yeah.
Or lack thereof to the elk. So, anyway, innovations in target practice. I always thought 3D targets were great, and I have one.
Yeah.
But in fact,
fascinating to understand the underlying and just gives you something deeper to think about. If you want to aim small, miss small, you don't want to aim for behind the shoulder. You want to aim for the heart.
Yeah.
Right? You want to aim for the lungs and liver. You want to know which way you're pointing and what kind of damage it's going to do.
So it's time to start saving up.
So I know.
They're probably
you're up your game. I bet the archery shop's going to get something like that.
Yeah. Hiking legs. You always say, don't skip leg day. Don't skip leg day. Yeah. And I've been on my elliptical every day. I've been going on walks. I've been doing all kinds of stuff outside. Yeah. But hiking legs. I'm trying to build my hiking legs. But some innovation in technology has made me wonder if I can skip leg day.
And it's only going to get better. It's this technology is only going to get better. Yeah. It'll only take you so far,
right? Because it's a
right. But sometimes so far sounds pretty good.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is like a waistband, almost like a, if you can imagine wearing a fanny pack battery.
Yeah.
With
mechanical legs.
With mechanical legs, it just moves your thigh, it just moves your knee.
Yeah.
Right? But it doesn't walk for you. It aids your walk.
It's an assist.
So you know how if you walk up a hill, you push on your knees, you push down on your knees to help you up the hill? That's kind of what it does. Sorry, the battery was down to 20%. Wanted to let me know. Thanks, buddy. Anyway, there's going to be more things like this. There's more thermal imaging available. You can just, really cheap, get it on Amazon and be up in the woods and see things thermally in the dark. Which, are there laws against that? I don't know.
Maybe not yet, because I think there are some conversations around ethics, but at the same time, we'll see what happens with this. We'll see what happens.
And I know this is just a piece. This is just a part of what's going to be available for the future bow hunter. But another thing that's going to be available for future bow hunters is a guy I follow, Drone Deer Recovery.
Yeah, we've been talking about that.
Drone Deer Recovery, he also does ag spraying.
Oh yeah.
So he has heavy lift drones, and he has shown lifting entire deer.
Wow.
He has shown pulling someone drowning all the way to shore. I mean, heavy lift drone. So can you take a pack? Can you pack your gear in that way? Say, hey, here's a whole bunch of gear. We're going to take it in.
So one of the concerns I would see, and this is because I'm not going to be able to afford that kind of machinery.
Right.
And I'm going to be out there trying to hunt, but there's going to be this loud, noisy drone that flies overhead. So it's going to impede my ability to hunt successfully. So if
it's not for me, it'd be annoying.
But it's going to scatter the other deer and the elk, and it's going to spook them because of the noise that it makes. And so that's
temporarily, but like for a camp or for a pickup, right?
But that's just what what I'm saying. So you got done with your hunt, but I still have to go harvest, but I haven't harvested yet. You're going to go pick up your harvest, but I still need to hunt. But your drone spooked out at the moment I was trying to take my shot.
Okay.
So I see it being an argument in the noise issue. But we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm curious. I'm more curious.
I can't imagine that a harvest would happen, proximal, so proximal together.
You never know.
Just because, we've talked about going into the Frank Church by airplane,
True.
right? That's pretty noisy. But once the airplane goes, it's not noisy anymore, right? And you still have time to hunt. So that's kind of how I imagine it. But you're right. If it's just easier and there's more drones and it's cheaper, then all of a sudden, every time you have an elk, you need to carry it out or packed out, or every time you have camp or something, and there's all these drones everywhere. When the price of experience the wilderness is just a price, everybody will do it.
Yeah. Ugh.
I know.
It's heartbreaking.
I know. And so there should be some rules and laws against it. There already is in the wilderness, right? In the salmon white clouds, in the Boulder White Clouds, in the Salmon Chalice, in the Frank Church River of No Return. So the law there is you can fly over, but you cannot land or take off unless it's an emergency. There are some dedicated airfields. So in those wilderness areas, then yes, you couldn't use a drone.
Right.
So anyway,
it would be interesting to see how the conversation evolves around that.
Yeah, we'll see what other fancy equipment helps us hike. You know what? Maybe when I'm 70, right, and I get a little blue placard, I go, you know what? I can go and hike with these special legs, and I will.
Fair enough. I can't say I would turn that down.
Right. So
and the final piece of gear is I just got it yesterday. It's a vehicle.
Yeah.
That would allow me
it's a truck.
That allows me to haul out a harvest when I get it.
How long has it been since you had a truck?
I've never had a full-size pickup. This is my first full-size pickup.
First full-size pickup?
Yeah.
And Silverado.
It's a Silverado. Yeah.
What a cool.
So, excited to have it. And
it's pretty. It's pretty. Well, I saw it when I pulled around. And part of why I wanted to come early was like,
I wondered.
It was like, I'm really excited to see the truck.
Yeah. So I've relied on you a lot in our history together for I didn't get this because I wanted to, like, hey,
right.
but it's I've always appreciated that, and so hopefully I can reciprocate that when we need to, for future excursions.
Yeah.
So but
I don't know. My wife's been using the truck an awful lot lately.
I've noticed because because until I got the truck, I've been dropping Vesa off at work, and it's right across the street.
Yeah,
and so I'm like, I have to remind myself, oh, Harold's not there. That's got to be Becky. So
yeah. Sometimes I'm there. I am working very hard. In the past 3 weeks, now almost 4 weeks, and I'll work out again tomorrow at 6 a.m. I did 150 feet of lunges with a 100-pound sandbag on the back of my neck yesterday, and my legs are screaming from it. And I have a fitness competition coming up in about a month, just before elk season starts. So, and I've been, like I said, I've been without a gym for a few months, and so getting back into the swing of things, I definitely feel a lot better.
It's crazy. Until I started, I just did something simple and started getting on my elliptical, and everything about my mentality and how I felt just changed. And so
it's great.
And now it's just a requirement. I have to do it.
So get out there. I see a lot of guys out there just putting some weight in their backpack and walking. That is great practice. Yeah. And I've been doing some hikes too. So I've only had 4 hikes. I feel like I've been out a lot, but I've only had 4 hikes this year.
Just had one, but I hiked around Disneyland. That's something.
It is. 4
days at Disneyland.
That's a special kind of endurance that takes.
All right.
Until next time. Be well, Sal. Goodbye.